with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. The journey of an awakening spirit is about teaching you a variety of tools that you can use to step into your true self. It is about self-discovery, realizing you are not alone on your journey. We will open the phone lines, give readings, and talk about what our listeners want to know. So please welcome the host of The Journey of an Awakening Spirit, Kathleen Flanagan.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for watching, and welcome to the Journey of an Awakening Spirit. I am Kathleen Flanagan, your host, and we are on the Bold Brave TV network, and today I want to talk about our paradigms. So I want to go a little bit more in depth about what a paradigm is, how we form them, how we can change them, that type of thing. So a paradigm is a collection of our thoughts based on our beliefs about ourselves, our world, which generate from our experience and from our results. It is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over your habitual behavior, and almost all of your behavior is habitual. It controls the way you view yourself, the world, and opportunities. It controls how you approach change and challenge. It controls your success and happiness in life. Your paradigm is on autopilot, and it is who you are. A paradigm shift is the only way to bridge the gap between how you're currently living and how you want to live. Our paradigms control our perception, our use of time, our creativity, our effectiveness, our productivity, our logic, and our ability to earn money. The paradigm puts a box around each and every one of those areas, and no matter how hard you try, you won't knock down the walls until you change your mental program. You are boxed in. When you make a decision to change, you will hit that wall, and being committed to the decision is the only way to remove the wall. So how is a paradigm formed? Although everyone has a paradigm, most of us don't create it ourselves. We had inherited through our genetic and environmental conditioning. We were programmed, for example, by our parents' and ancestors' DNA, as well as all of their beliefs, going back for generations, and that's not all. Pretty much everything that you were exposed to as a child also became part of your paradigm. You see, when you were a child, whatever happened around you went right into your subconscious mind because you had no ability to reject anything. Any idea that you were exposed to over and over again were like seeds being planted in fertile soil. They took root and became part of the paradigm that controls every aspect of your life. Now, here's the kicker. We're not taught about paradigms in school. So here we are 20, 40, 60 years later, living the same way we were programmed as little kids. Paradigms control your vibrations, which are your feelings. To begin with, you have a mission or a reason why you are on the earth, and it is so much more than the mundaneness of life. You are here for a grander purpose, and we may or may not know what that is. You do, however, learn it through your feelings of discontent. Have you noticed that there are times in your life that there is an angst and you can't quite pinpoint where it's coming from? Then when you do discover it, you're gung-ho on changing it, only to find yourself still in the same rut. That is the paradigm coming through. Your paradigms are so strong that it takes a burning desire to make the change in your life. Your desire or dream has to be stronger than your paradigm. Your forward movement will bring your paradigm to the surface. Most people do not have the tools to break the paradigms and transform them. They also don't like the feeling of being uncomfortable while the change is occurring. Nothing will ever change if you do not move through your paradigms. There are 4 simple steps to move through a paradigm. The first is to acknowledge that you are in bondage. This is where the subconscious and conscious minds are in a comfortable state. You are comfortable even if you don't like your results. Most people fear change and would rather stay there than change their circumstances. The second stage is reason. And this is where an idea comes into the subconscious mind. You entertain it. Depending on what it is, you could name it, create a brand around it, see yourself selling it, but you don't act on it. You are not emotionally involved yet. You are still in bondage. In the third stage, you go into the terror barrier. You continue to think about the idea, but now you are becoming emotionally involved with the idea. This is where the idea moved from the conscious to the subconscious mind. It butts up against your paradigm and creates worry, fear, and anxiety. This stage can be a minor unease or can actually go into a physical crisis. The central nervous system comes into play. You can have panic attacks, think you're dying, believe you're having a heart attack. The paradigm is so afraid of change that it will do anything to keep you from moving forward. This stage is where most people stop just shy of their dream. They do not realize that their paradigm is running the show. Generally, this is why you have a mentor who can see you where you are and help you to move through this part of your journey. When I went through the terror barriers when I purchased the home that I'm currently living in, and I was so terrified of being homeless, because in my previous home I was homeless. My business partner took me in for a couple of weeks because I was struggling getting the loan. So he took me in for a couple of weeks until I could get everything taken care of before I could buy the home. And so what ended up happening was that I had created a paradigm because I ended up being homeless and I was so emotionally involved in this house. And at the time, trying to find a home in Denver then was the onset of what the housing market was doing. And of course, I sold that house at the end of that housing craziness. So anyways, what had happened is I wanted this new house. I wanted the house, and I was just so frustrated because it was like I just kept butting up against everything under the sun, and I just didn't know what was happening. And I remember there was a point that my lender said, "We're going to get you the loan, Kath. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. We will get you the loan." And I just got to a point where I was ready to walk away from that purchase of the home because I just couldn't see it it could happen. And I ended up staying. I ended up getting the loan and everything was fine, but talk about really going through torture is what it felt like. I just felt like the world was against me. Nobody believed that I could do this, even though I was making money, I could do that. And I found out when I purchased this home, it was because I didn't have any credit because I paid cash for everything. So I didn't have a lot of credit. And that was the biggest reason why we were struggling on getting the loan for the first house. But when I came to this house, I was in a mentor program and I decided something just said it's time to buy a house because our office condo was going up for sale. And somebody was interested in buying. So I said, hold on, you got to give me till January because I have to sell my home because my business partner wanted to sell the condo. And so I was like, I have to get a bigger place. So what ended up happening is, in 90 days, I bought the house, but the struggle was as I was moving forward into purchasing the home, and I was terrified. My lender, I just kept asking, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure I'm going to get the loan? Because I was so afraid of being homeless at that point. And they're like, you got it. It's in the bag. Don't worry about it. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. So when I put the offer in on this house, I was fine with that. It was putting my house up for sale. That's what scared me to death. And during that whole period until the closing date, because my attitude was, it's not a done deal until I sign that last piece of paper. And every night I was in bed and I was just thinking I was having a heart attack because I couldn't breathe. I was in a panic attack. I didn't know it yet, but I was always in a panic, and it was like, it's okay, I'm safe, everything's fine. If I die today, it's okay. I did everything I needed to do. And I didn't understand yet what I was going through at that point. I was just in this experience. I was moving forward. I was, you know, looking at getting new carpet and paint and doing everything. I mean, I was just in this house all the time. And it wasn't next door to where I live by any stretch of the imaginations, because I moved from the city into a rural area in northeastern Colorado. And I just was like, please take me up, please take me up. I mean, my poor realtor must have just loved me because I just wanted to do it. But part of that paradigm shift was just seeing that I'm in there. This is my home. I'm living here, and just visualizing. So I was really engaging in everything that I needed to do to own this place, because if I can see it in my mind, if I can touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it, experience it, if I could do that, then that means I can create it and manifest, because it was like I was living as if. So I was taking all these principles that I needed to do to be able to create this house as I'm in this position of changing a paradigm that is so incredibly strong and overwhelming to me. And so that's what I did. I just kept going through it. And I remember when we moved, it was like we just started having a blizzard. The day I moved, it was like we went into a blizzard. The truck couldn't get out of my driveway. I mean, it was just a nightmare, and snow and ice everywhere trying to move this house. And, it was like, just keep going through it. You're in it. It's okay. We'll keep going through. And it was all good. But I remember when I got partially settled, where everything was in a place per se, and I sat on the couch, and I just remember going, I don't know where I am. It was like I had realized that I had shifted that paradigm. And I was in a vibration that was so much higher than I had ever experienced before. And so I had no knowledge of this energy field that I was in at the time. But that's what basically happens is when you do this, because when I decided to sell the home, that paradigm, it kicked in. And as it kicked in, I just kept moving through it, and I would just talk to people. My partner's like, slow down, you're moving too fast. And it was like, I'm sorry, I can't. Divine providence has taken over, and I just had to keep moving through it. And I did my the best to remain calm. But once I was able to sit and actually experience this house after I had moved in, I felt freedom. I realized that paradigm had shifted, and that frequency that I stepped up several rungs of the ladder, because you can go up from anywhere from one to several. And I think because I pushed myself so hard, and I just believed no matter what, and I wouldn't let the doubts come in or stop me in any way, that I actually transformed that paradigm, which then also was a total transformation of me too. So it was like I could never say, I can't get this, because I actually changed a paradigm. I actually know that I could do it. If I put my mind to it and I want to move into that direction, then I can forever do that. And my vibration elevated. So I was a higher being. I had more light coming in because I got rid of something that was holding me back for a long time in my life, because I was told I was unworthy, I'm undeserving, why should you have a big house? I mean, all those kind of paradigms were coming up, not just from the one of being homeless, but there was a lot of paradigms that were wrapped around that whole situation. So what I discovered also was things started becoming easier, because now I have more tools and new tools in my tool belt that help me to create the life of my dreams. So using that was like a huge fire under my feet to go into the next phase of what big goal that I'm trying to do. And the other thing too is then it changes you, it also changes the way you view the world. And as you change the way you view your world and act out in the world, people come back and they come towards you and see you and treat you differently. Well, we're going to be right back after we have a word from our sponsors.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I am Kathleen Flanagan, your host on the Bold Brave TV network. So how do you transform your life when your paradigms are screaming? There are 4 simple steps, but that doesn't mean it will be easy. And the most important one is having a definite purpose. And this is your why. This comes from your heart, and it needs to be bigger than you. There are 5 questions you need to ask yourself to make your dream worthy of you. Would I feel more alive? Would it require that I grow? Is my dream in alignment with my core values? Do I need help from a higher power? If the answer is no, then it's a goal and you already know how to do it. And is there some good in my dream for others? And these are very important when you're going for a goal or a big dream, because if you can't answer any one of those 5 questions, then you're just going to fizzle out. It's not going to be a burning desire. It's not going to be something that you want to do. And when you have something that's bigger than you and it feels, and your heart is singing towards it, you're going to keep doing whatever it takes, no matter what it takes. And believe me, when you hit your walls or frustration hits or burnout hits, and I promise you, all that's going to happen as you're going towards a big dream. What you have to do is just remember, it's not a 7-Eleven world, and the microwave is way too slow. But when you're working on something, growth and changing you and going towards a bigger dream of you, it takes time. It takes time, because we weren't created like this overnight. And so when we're dealing with this and paradigms, because as we grow and change, those paradigms are always going to come up and kick. Some of them are minor and small, and some aren't. And so that's something that is really important to when you're answering these questions, is really make sure that this is something you want to do. The second step is you want to have a plan. And this is, what action steps are you going to take? You want to do what you can with what you have now. This is what I call baby steps, because we don't always know how to get there. When we're working and co-creating with God, we don't know how to do it. So what we do, and how I have found, is that I do what I can and then I stop, because then I'm waiting for inspiration or ideas, or I'm meeting somebody, or whatever it is. So you always take a baby step, and one baby steps towards your dream will create it. And then you want to leave no stone unturned. So if you get an idea that pops up, go with it. And I know that I've done this my whole life. I have gone and I feel like I'm just going down different rabbit holes, but every single thing that I took to move into the direction of my dream has led me to where I am today, which is right here in front of you. And this wouldn't have happened if I would have not taken any one of those steps. So even though you feel like you're on, going down a rabbit hole, or you're just all over the place and feeling scattered, that's not necessarily it, because those ideas are coming to you for a reason. And I think it helps you to understand, see a bigger picture, kind of expand your world a little bit more. Because if it doesn't work, it's okay. If it's not failure, it's feedback. So I figured one of these days I'm going to I'm going to get the right combination, and it's going to finally work, because I've done a lot of things that came back as it's not the right way. But the thing is it was the same way Edison discovered the light bulb. If it didn't work, on to the next. If he did everything he knew, if it didn't work, it was always on to the next. It wasn't a negative, it wasn't failure, it was just feedback that he didn't have the combination right. And so that's something to think about, because he was very instrumental in really showing us how to bust through something. And for bringing electricity in at that time was a big deal. But he knew he could do it, and he worked with people like with Einstein and all of them. And so they were working with this, and that's why he took the naps, because he would just take his nap, get an idea, get up, do it. If it worked, fine. If it didn't, then he, the next day do the same thing. So it's the same thing with us. And you want to be persistent. You need to close your mind tightly against all negativity and discouraging influences. And that could be one of the hardest things, because when your family and friends don't necessarily want to see you fail, and they don't want to see you struggle, and sometimes they even don't want you to change, because if you change, that means they're going to have to change. And then people get uncomfortable because it's change. And I know that with my businesses, I have people that just still hold me up to this day, because I still get discouraged and I still get frustrated. That is still like it's taking forever. And it's like, and what do? I just keep looking into what's in me that's stopping me, because I'm the only one that's stopping me. So I have people that support me and hold me up while I'm going through that, because I know it's going to happen. There's no doubt in my mind I will have what I want. I just don't know when. And then the fourth step is you want to create alliances. And this is like a mastermind or a friendly alliance for people to encourage you to go through with both your plan and your purpose. And I currently am in a mastermind with a woman that I was in the coaching program with. And, and there's times, we both sit there at different times. We get frustrated, or we're just like, when's this going to happen? Because it's not happening fast enough. But, as she looks at me, she sees a lot of change in me and how much I've grown and changed in the time we've been together. And even if I'm feeling frustrated or angry or whatever, she holds me up and holds me accountable, because the one thing is I don't want to come to the table and say, well, I'm just a pissy bitch today. And, I don't want to be that kind of person. And I see the same thing for her. I see that her goal, as huge as it is going to manifest. There's no doubt in my mind. She can't see it because she's in it. So having people that are around to support you really gives you that extra to keep moving forward. And it helps to keep your mind in that positive place as well. Because I know that when I've got somebody holding me accountable, I don't want to look bad, because I have this looking good program, and I am so not going to look bad. So I kind of get a kick out of, just the little games that we play. And, if we play those games with ourselves and they're effective, what's the point? Who cares? If they work, they work. So now that you're in alignment with yourself, because we talked about that 2 weeks ago, and you have the understanding of your paradigms and how powerful they are, and you have a dream and a plan to achieve it. So what's next? What else can you do, or you need to be aware of, that can ensure your success? And this is where our higher powers come into play. So we have 5 senses, and we perceive our world through sight, touch, sound, hearing, actually smell, and taste. And this shows us where our present results are. And if you want something different, you have to think differently or do things differently. This is where our higher faculties come into play, and this is what sets us apart from the animals. They operate from instinct, and you have reasoning capacities, which is your will, reason, perception, imagination, memory, and intuition. Oh gosh, I'm sorry guys, I have 2 cats on my desk now. Okay, so your will gives you the ability to stay focused. It's what you want, and this is your why. Your reason gives you the ability to choose where you focus your attention. With your perception, you choose to alter how you see things, present results, or your dream. And this is very important because a lot of times we look like we're standing still and nothing's moving and nothing's changing. Even if we are taking baby steps, it's not moving fast enough, or we look like or feel like we're still in the same place. So instead of looking at your present results, you always want to keep your eye on the dream. Because if you're keeping your eye there, then that means your attention's focused there. You're going to move in that direction, whatever's coming up. And it's also going to help you stop with, that negative self-talk that we have a tendency to do when we're starting to feel frustrated. And your imagination goes into high gear when you stay focused on your dream. So as you stay focused in your dream, your imagination of what's the next step I can take is going to come up there. And sometimes we get really creative during this process because, we're doing something bigger than us. We're moving out of our habitual behaviors. And so that gets a little uncomfortable, but as you do it, there's a lot of things that start moving closer in your direction, towards you. And that's where it gets really exciting if you're just paying attention and being present in the moment. And then you're going to use your memory to keep moving forward. You're going to remember where you were and where you want to go. And there's a lot of times that I could sit there and say, I don't like where I am right here, right now, and this is where I want to go. So as I use that memory, I'm going into that new direction. Or if I remember how I was, where at one point I couldn't speak for myself and now I can speak and have no fear about that, that's a huge change and transformation in my life. But it took a lot when I started to use my voice and speak up for myself. So you're going to tap into the universal intelligence to make the conscious choice, and then you're going to let it happen. So you constantly have to be present so you can do this, because it's in your consciousness, it's in the present moment, it's being here now. And then the universe comes in and you just step out of your way and allow it to come, because when we're allowing it, we're receiving, and giving and receiving work hand in hand. I mean, we can give and give and give, but if we never receive, how are you ever going to get your dream if you don't know how to learn how to receive it? And that's a big one, because I was a big giver, but I wasn't always big on receiving. And now it's like, thank you, may I have more? So I start paying attention to that and saying, and being grateful, because that's what brings more of that goodness towards you. And when everything looks like it's at a standstill and you don't know if you're coming or going, just say this. This is what it looks like when all this is coming together. Because there is that point. We don't know what's happening around us in the ethers that is coming towards us. We don't know that an action we took is not bringing the right person to help us in the next step of our journey. We don't know that, we might get an email from somebody, or you might inherit money, who knows? But, all that is because you're moving in that direction. And that's where the miracles come from, is just you're doing the work, and they look like they're miracles when they're really not. It's just what it is. But there is also a law of gestation. And when you are aligned with your dream, it will manifest. It is the journey of your becoming that creates the end result and accomplishes your dream. When your vibration matches the frequency of your dream, it will manifest. Every change you make in your thinking and doing brings you closer to the vibration of your dream. You create it in your mind first. You live as that person and take whatever steps you can and listen to your intuition. It is up to you how long it will take. We are masters at living in doom and gloom and really know how to manifest it. And since our mind does not know the difference between reality and imagination, I decided to try an experiment. I took a worst case scenario and really lived and felt it. You know the one, living in a Buick down by the river when your life has gone to hell and there is no way out. Once I felt every bit of that fear of failure and terror, I turned my mind around and then I visualized what my life full of happiness, love, and doing what I love for work. And to my surprise, and no surprise, an amazing thing happened. The positive visualization moved faster into reality because I lived through the negative. I found a motivation to move forward fast. Ideas were coming in, and I allowed the universe to help. And what I talk about with this is in 2011, everything was changing in my life, and it wasn't good. My mother had passed away at that point in time, and I wasn't working. There was a lot of things that were going on, and I'm going to go into this in a little bit right after we take this break to hear from our sponsors.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Kathleen Flanagan on the Bold Brave TV network. So in 2011, my mother had passed away. I wasn't working. I didn't have any money coming in. And I was reaching out to friends of mine and telling them that I could do various things besides what I was doing for a living. I could do other things. And I was just trying to find some way to make work happen. And nothing happened. I had to contact somebody to help me with my utilities so they didn't get turned off. So I had to call them, and I called to see about if I could get rent assistance at that time as well. And they told me that the only time I can ask for rent assistance is when I'm just about ready to be thrown out of my home. So I was like, whoa, none of that made any sense to me, but it's what it was. So I was very depressed and I was very scared. And what I had to do, and is what I did do, was I just visualized. And I sat on my couch and I visualized what I wanted and how I wanted my life to be. I visualized the work, I visualized the money, I visualized who I wanted to be, and really got into it. And don't think for 5 seconds that my paradigms weren't coming in about how worthless I was and what am I doing sitting there on the couch visualizing this when I should be out there working at some place for $6 an hour, which would never pay my bills. And I didn't really have any bills other than housing expenses. I had rent and utilities. That was the extent of my bills. But when you don't have any money, you don't have any money. And I just sat there and I just dealt with it. And I was grieving too with my mother's death, because that was a whole new experience of dealing with. I just did not know what death, especially your mother. And thank God we only have one mother, because to ever go through that a second time, oh God, I don't know if I could get through it a second time. It was just horrible. And so Spirit ended up coming in, because I do sound therapy, and they actually told me to just get into the tub, because I had a jetted tub, and take the tuning forks and essential oils and all that and do it. And so I did. And what ended up happening when I put the fork on the water, it was like my whole brain went all the way across, because it was like I was rewiring my brain. And that really helped to get me into another place. Now, I was working at a Medi Spa, but it was only part-time. And then all of a sudden my environmental work started coming in, and it was like I was making a couple $100 every time I did a clearance. And so that was like really starting to make me feel better. So it was like work was coming in, and I kept visualizing who I wanted to be, how I wanted to be, what I wanted to do for a living. And I think within the next 6 to 8 months, I was close to almost $100,000. So, I mean, I went from nothing to almost $100,000, because I just visualized who I wanted to be. And I just created that, and I put all of those paradigms aside, because I wasn't the person they were saying I was. I knew better. I knew I could create something different, and I did. So I shocked myself, and that was one of the first times that I realized how much power we do have. So when I bought my houses, I knew I could get through it, but you go up a different level, so to speak. So anyways, life still happens. Ups and downs still occur. They are not what they once were, because once you change your paradigms and use these tools, you move through your changes faster. Your burning desire for the life you would love to live will keep you uncomfortable, and you will have to make change your new friend. If you are really tired of the ups and downs, money coming and going, and it happens to everyone but me, by practicing these tools every day, you will discover a whole new you, and you become the master of your destiny. It took me a long time to learn the meaning. It is not the destiny, it is the journey. This is who you become in the process. And I'm telling you, it took me a long time to learn that, because I just wanted to keep going on to the next and never really stopped long enough to see, well, how am I changing to be that new person? We are here to learn. We are here to evolve. We are here to discover what our potential is and keep growing until we transition. Sitting on the couch, watching TV, doing drugs is not learning. Here is something to think about. John was born in 1975. He died in 2005 and was buried in 2050. Don't be that person. We are all spiritual beings having a human experience. We are here to grow, to learn, to love, and to support each other. If you want your world to change, then you have to change yourself first. Who cares if you lose people along the way? That is part of life. Not everyone is going to be with you on this journey. They are here to give us messages and to move on. The truth is, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. If you reflect on that relationship, you will know why. All people are gifts, regardless of how they treat you. Those are some of the hardest lessons to learn, but they are your greatest teachers. Think back when that difficult person was around. Remember all those emotions that you were wrapped around? Remember all those, looking back, can you see the gift that was given to you? The same goes for love, regardless if it lasted or not. Now take this one step further. What was the gift that you gave someone? What was the gift you gave to your antagonist? Really look at this from their perspective. You have value and you have gifts as well. It is not a one-sided world. You have to do the work. Nothing comes to you until you change yourself first. Nothing comes to you either until you change the thoughts about yourself, because we think really negatively a lot of times about ourselves. It's easier to beat ourselves up than to look at the good and the value that we have inside. But staying consistent on changing yourself will accelerate your growth, your wealth, and your knowledge. You are not a victim to your circumstances. Yes, you were programmed, but you don't have to keep what you learned as children to prevent you from having the life you would love to live. It is up to each and every one of you to look inside and find what is not working. The hardest question I ever had to answer was, what do you want? We all know what we don't want, but how many of you know what it is you actually want? All those dreams you had as a child, are you living them? Or were you told they were a pipe dream? You can have those dreams, but it is up to you to reconnect with yourself. It is up to you to do the work. Is it going to be easy? Hell no, but it is worth it. You are tougher than you think you are. You are capable of doing far more than you think you can. You are an amazing being, and you just have to remember who you are and go for it. You are worthy of the best life has to offer. You are deserving of all good things. You are loved beyond your comprehension. And most importantly, you are never, ever alone. You just have to listen and act on it. Trust yourself. Believe in yourself, because I believe in you, and you can do it. And so when I wrote this was really about how much I had changed, because for a long time I was thinking, okay, how did I get here? What did I do to get here? And the biggest thing was really looking at paradigms. And sometimes when I first started looking at the paradigms, there was a lot. And I remember when I was taking my business online, because the internet was starting to come into full swing, and I was sitting there and I didn't have any money, but I was learning how to work through the algorithms of internet marketing and all of that kind of stuff, even though it changed after a year. But the one thing that came up to me was really amazing, was that my mother always said, you need to work to pay your bills. Well, I got that. I lived that for a long time, that I was working to pay my bills. Well, I didn't have any bills. I had none. I had zero bills, and I had no money. And when I realized that paradigm was like, oh my God, I have to change that. I want money because I want money. I want money. Makes life a little bit easier. It's not the root of all evil, because I had to look at money being dirty and ugly and the root of all evil and sins and whatever else. I mean, all that Catholic stuff that I went through. And those were some of the biggest, deepest, hardest paradigms to go through. Then I also discovered that my relationship with my father, which is non-existent, I had to learn to forgive that man. And that was not an easy thing to do. And as I was working through paradigms, because it's like how we say when we're changing, it's like we're peeling the layer of the onion. Well, eventually you get to the core of the onion and you start looking at the really deep rooted stuff that's in your way. And I did a lot of work with my father and people that had hurt me and harmed me along the way. And I would just write whatever I felt, and then when I would burn it and transform it into the ethers so I could move on, because I realized that forgiveness was another big factor that kept me from moving forward. And I get my anger was, but my anger at that point, I was working through it, but it wasn't enough yet, because my anger still kept me protected. And my whole thing was always wanting to stay protected. Well, as I started moving and growing and changing, the more I started to realize I don't need my anger to protect me anymore, because it was a big defense mechanism. And I think that one of the reasons why I had so much anger, aside from what happened as a child, but my parents were very angry people as well. And I just picked up on all that anger. So I had to get rid of what wasn't mine. I remember I had my grandmother, because I'm very intuitive and psychic. And I remember doing a meditation once, and I just saw my grandmother's life. And I had no idea that she was a battered woman, and she was, because my mother confirmed it. She had lost pregnancies. I saw death in her home that she lived in, and my mother told me that she had miscarried, I think, once or twice. And then I could feel that there were angels all around her as well. I mean, it was like, this is what I was picking up as a little kid. And I didn't understand that, but I took on my grandmother's pain as well. And I remember when I realized that, it's like, oh my God, this is going back for generations. Now, I didn't know the word paradigm yet. I didn't hear that word. I didn't understand it. But I was realizing that I was taking on so much stuff from my family. And aside from working through my own garbage, I had to work through theirs and get rid of that. And as soon as I got rid of the generational stuff and realized that my grandmother, this was her life, this is what she chose. She died. She was at peace when she died. That was all that mattered, is she was at peace. I mean, it broke my heart when she died, because I just really loved my grandmother. But I had to realize that whatever was in her life wasn't my life. What was ever in my mother's life wasn't my life. And yes, did I create some of the men that from my father? Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. I did all of that. And, and I see mannerisms of my mother in me and all of that. And, what do you do? It's just what it is. But the whole point is that I just needed to understand who I was and find me in that, because our paradigms just kind of topple in on top of us and we lose sight of who we are. And so when we can start breaking through those paradigms, we start discovering who we are, that we are that spiritual being having a human experience. We are bigger than we think we are. We are grander than we are. We are love beyond all comprehension. And those are the things that, as you start moving through paradigms, you start seeing the bigger picture of you. And that's what makes this change exciting, regardless of how fearful you feel at the time. That's just the ego trying to take control of your life. Well, we're going to be right back. We're going to have a word from our sponsors.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Kathleen Flanagan, and we are on the Bold Brave TV network. So I think the main thing about really discovering your paradigms is it still comes down to that desire of you wanting to be a better person. I know that we do certain things, we do things habitually. We're unconscious 99% of the time in our life. And when we remain unconscious, nothing changes. And so it's really a very strong conscious effort of being in the present moment. That's why when we talked about the alignment tools a couple of weeks ago, that is one way to stay present is how are you feeling right now? What is the observation of how you're feeling? Because right now, what I'm noticing is something's coming up for me and I can feel it, and I'm reading this book, The Optimist Creed, which is a very powerful, huge book. And of course, this book was written like around the 1920s, 30s, somewhere in there. And it talks about mastering yourself. And that's what I'm wanting to do. I don't want my emotions to run my life. I don't want my anger to run my life. I don't want frustration to run my life. And I want to do things differently, because when you start mastering yourself, you don't have to control anything because things just start flowing naturally. Yes, you're still going to be human. You're still going to feel what you're going to feel, but it doesn't mean you have to give it any power. And so right now, my biggest thing that I'm wanting to do is how do I do things differently than what I'm used to doing? So, it's one thing when I start getting frustrated and I can be quiet and still, but it's like, well, and I'm struggling with people right now with communication. And I don't want to come off and be that nasty, biteful, angry person. It's like I want to find a different way. And so I'm not sure, but this is a good thing. I mean, I really want to do this, and I'm really looking for whatever this is, because I really want to be in total control of my life all the time. I don't want situations or circumstances to upset me. And I'm getting really good at that because, we have been in amazing downpours of rain here in Colorado, and we are not designed for this kind of rain. And my crawl space is a swamp right now in my basement. I have been for the whole month of May, and now starting June, I'm trying to get the water out of my crawl space. And it's frustrating. And it's like, but I'm not going to let it affect me. It's like, okay, well, I just rather put my head in the sand and not deal with it. But we finally found a solution that we think we can do to get the water out, because what we're doing isn't working, because it's like the water's coming up from underneath because there's so much water. So I'm just not going to think about it right now. I'm just like, put it out to the universe. It's like, this is a problem. I don't know how to deal with it. I'm not sure what to do with this right now. I know what I need to do, but I'm not sure how to do it. Well, yesterday we came up with a solution, and we're going to address it so we can get the swampland. It really is a swampland down there. I'm like, oh my God, it just makes me crazy. But what do you do? And so I just figure, okay, well, it's what it is. It's life. It's happening. But I don't have to be affected by it. I don't have to get angry about it. I don't have to be frustrated about it. It's just, it sucks. That's the bottom line. It sucks, and move on. But it doesn't have to affect my mood. And that's the main thing, I think, when I started moving through a lot of my paradigms, is really seeing the beauty of who I am, and that I do have a voice, and I do have something to say. And I'm getting funnier, because I was told I used to be really funny when I was a little kid, and I didn't know that because I stopped that a long time ago. And, but I'm enjoying life way more because I've moved through this. I don't have to have this heavy downtrodden doom and gloom Eeyore kind of thing of singing songs of, oh, doom and gloom and woe is me kind of thing, because that's not how I feel. And I mean, I have lived my life that most people don't even understand to the extent of how I've lived my life, and I don't really care. I have followed spirit my whole life, and I have trusted in spirit my whole life. And so as I'm moving through this life, and, I didn't get into, the corporate job or the 3.2 kids and the white picket fence. I didn't go down that road. I didn't want that road. I didn't like the idea of that road, because my attitude has always been, you're here to experience life. Well, how do you experience life? You change. You keep changing. You keep evolving. You keep discovering who you are in the process. And the more that I have made that conscious decision to be a better person, to change how I operate in the world, to come from a different place of an open heart, which that was another huge story. To open your heart is very, very hard. But I chose to do that because all of this meant I would just be better. And the people that I admire the most always seem to be smiling and glowing. And it's like, I want to look like that. I just want to look like that. Because there's like, what's your secret? It's like that. And it's no secret. It's just that they're growing and changing and evolving to being a better person and living the life that they wanted to live and create the world that they wanted to create. And that's the power that each and every one of us have, is that even if the world is falling apart, that doesn't mean it's your world. Your world is what you want it to be. And I have a world full of love and joy and happiness, regardless of a swampy basement. I have that world, and that's what I live by. That's what I focus on, and that's what I stay in touch with. And you can do the same thing as well. So I just wanted to remind you that if you wanted to set up a 15-minute call to talk and have any coaching or ask any questions, you can reach me at the KathleenMFlanagan.com site, and you can sign up on my calendar and we can have a chat. I also have the de-stress 3-minute de-stress meditation there that's absolutely free, that you're welcome to download anytime you want. And I have Awakening Spirit, which is the aromatherapy natural body care product line that I have. And I am offering 40% off. And all you have to do is put in the Brave TV in the coupon code, and the shopping cart will completely change down to 40%. And I also have a CBD company, which is Grandma's Natural Remedies, and I am offering 20%. And again, just put in Brave TV at the in the coupon code, and you will receive that discount as well. And let's see. So next week, we're going to be talking about the attitude of gratitude. So there's like a little workshop or workbook kind of thing that we're going to go through. So you can start creating ways to start creating more gratitude in your life. That's going to start changing things. So I want to thank you for watching. I am Kathleen Flanagan, and we are streaming on the Bold Brave TV network. And from my heart to yours, I will see you next week, and make it a great, fabulous week.
This has been the journey of an awakening spirit with your host, Kathleen Flanagan. Join Kathleen each week as she will inspire and empower all those who are drawn to her to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. Right here Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.